Well, folks, Kamala Harris is the world's worst vice president. She is terrible at her job. She's failed at every job she has ever tried. But she saw an opportunity over the weekend, an opportunity to reinvigorate her flagging political prospects. The unparalleled genius of Kamala Harris, she sees 2 black legislators get expelled from the state legislature for the crime of actually violating the law. And rule of law, they love rule of law. As we will see, they love rule of law. Right? This is why Donald Trump has to be indicted. Democrats, there's nothing they love better than rule of law. It is their favorite thing, except when they are actively incentivizing violations of the rule of law. Well, apparently she went and she said, we're going to make it plain, guys. We're going to do speeches. But, says Politico, there were questions of where she would make the speech and to whom. Fortunately, for the White House, they had someone they trust in Nashville, former Biden comms advisor, TJ Ducklow, who is the chief comms officer and senior advisor to the Nashville mayor, John Cooper. They quickly secured a venue at Fisk University and built out a crowd of roughly 700 at the historically black college and university. Apparently, this is so funny. Here's Politico's take. So I pointed out here that Kamala Harris did not come to Nashville to meet with the families, right? Here's how Politico tries to defend her on that. Although some conservative commentators have criticized Harris for not meeting with the families affected by last month's shooting at Nashville Covenant School, a White House aide tells Playbook the families were invited and that they offered blessings but ultimately couldn't make it. Maybe because she didn't come to actually meet with the families. Maybe because she came to defend the state legislators, not the actual dead people. Maybe that. By the way, offered blessings from the families is the equivalent of bless your heart, which is like the most dismissive thing that Southern people can say. It's when someone says something unbelievably stupid or insulting and people are like, bless your heart. That is the way you dismiss people. But according to Politico, it was amazing. That afternoon, Harris's 20-minute speech went off without a hitch. I don't know what hitch was expected exactly. Was she going to like keel over in the middle of the speech? A third Harris aide says, quote, the opportunity of having someone come from the White House to speak to the issues, the sort of sense of people feeling seen by the highest level of government. I'm so sick of this feeling seen garbage. Ugh, they feel seen. What if they don't feel seen? They die? Like, well, what happens if you don't feel seen? Because I can think of people who actually died who don't feel particularly seen right now. But again, the priorities are perfectly obvious. So here was Kamala Harris doing her fight against Jim Crow. By the way, the fight against Jim Crow involves apparently going to a state in which there are a bevy of black legislators and talking about how everyone is racist.
A democracy says you don't silence the people. You do not stifle the people. You don't turn off their microphones when they are speaking about the importance of life and liberty. These leaders had to get a bullhorn. They had to get a bullhorn to be heard. And then guess what? Because you know what? Can't have those voices in that room challenging notions about who should say what and when and where. Let's expel them.
Okay, so this is a vice president of the United States actively inciting violation of law and violation of breach of all rules on the floor of the Tennessee state legislature. Now, this is, of course, not the first time that Kamala Harris has incentivized lawbreaking. She, of course, tried to bail out actual rioters during the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020. But it just shows you, these are people who respect the law. They respect the law up until the point when the law actually applies to them, at which point they really, really don't like the law at all. And their priorities are perfectly clear. Look, this is just a cynical play. Does she actually care about this? Of course not. Of course not. She wants her moment in the sun. And she is a black woman who is going to speak about racism in the South, and she's going to go there and she's going to wave her arms as though she's an inflatable thingy over at the local car wash. And it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be not fake at all. Not as fake as AstroTurf. It's not going to be artificial. It's not going to be, I can't believe it's not butter. It's going to be actual butter. It's going to be amazing, except for it is absolutely fake and she is terrible at her job and everyone can see it. But they have to come up with some narrative. It's all about narrative for the left. It is not about the fact pattern, and victims don't matter for bleep. They do not matter whatsoever. And by the way, the one conversation that must be avoided at all costs, of course, is, of course, the trans conversation. Never forget, this was a shooting by a trans person of Christian school children. I know this is difficult for people on the left to either accept or comprehend. It is a thing that happened. And when you pretend it did not happen, when the vice president has nothing to say to the families for weeks on end, but then she descends to scream and shout at a historically black college and university about racism in Tennessee for expelling a bunch of people cosplaying as civil rights leaders. Well, their priorities are absolutely clear. Fact of the matter is the economy is in real trouble right now. The inflation rates continue to be incredibly high. The economy is on sort of a razor's edge right now. Prices of essential goods are not coming down. You need to start looking at ways to cut costs. Well, one of the best ways you can cut costs, take a look at that cell phone bill. You're spending way too much money on that cell phone bill. Pure Talk saves the average family over $900 per year. You can get the same coverage you're used to at half the rate you are currently paying. Not only will you save money, you'll also get the satisfaction of knowing you are supporting a great American company because the CEO and chairman of Pure Talk is a U.S. military veteran. And when you become a Pure Talk customer, you're given the option to support America's Warrior Partnership, an organization that helps to prevent veteran suicide. So you're doing some good while you actually pay your cell phone bill. I am a customer of Pure Talk. They don't drop calls. Their 5G network is the same as one of the big guys. It is fast and consistent with a range of affordable plans to choose from. You can find the perfect option for your needs. Get unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $30 a month, no contract. Switch on over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone and your phone number. Their US-based customer service team makes the switch super simple. Go to puretalk.com, enter promo code Shapiro, save 50% off your very first month of coverage. That's puretalk.com. Promo code Shapiro. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless. With everything going on in the world right now, it's hard to get a good night's sleep. This is why you need the world's best mattress, a mattress made just for you. And that is why you need to check out Helix Mattress. Helix is a premium mattress brand that provides tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. The Helix lineup includes 14 unique mattresses, including a collection of luxury models, a mattress for big and tall sleepers. I have a Helix Sleep mattress. It is firm but breathable because that is exactly what I need. Go to helixsleep.com/Ben. You should take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll make a perfect mattress for you, for your body and your sleep type. Your mattress comes directly to your door, shipped for free. Plus, Helix has a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix has over 12,000 5-star reviews. Their financing options, flexible payment plans make it so a great night's sleep is never far away. For a limited time, Helix is offering up to 20% off all mattress orders, plus 2 free pillows for our listeners. This is their best offer yet. Hurry on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben. I enjoy my Helix Sleep mattress. My wife enjoys the Helix Sleep mattress as well. It was personalized just for us. Do the same thing for yourself. Head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben with Helix. Better sleep starts now. Now, speaking of the priorities being absolutely clear, the Democratic Party continues along its march to promote the radical trans agenda. According to the Washington Post, the Biden administration has now put forward new regulations on transgender athletes in schools. These new regulations disallow blanket bans on transgender athletes that have been approved across the country. So supposedly, the Biden administration believes that it can just unilaterally, through the power of the executive branch, ban states from passing laws that say that men should not compete in women's sports. According to the Washington Post, the Biden administration on Thursday proposed new regulations that would allow schools to bar transgender athletes from participating in competitive high school and college sports, but disallow blanket bans on the athletes that have been approved across the country. So that is Joe Biden actually winking and nodding at the fact that this program is really, really unpopular. So he's saying like, okay, maybe you can ban like a man from boxing women in college athletics, but we're going to go up against the evil Ron DeSantis's and Bill Lees across the country. The rules would narrow when discrimination of trans athletes would be permitted, but they would also offer guidelines for when schools could bar their participation. Under the proposal, schools would need to consider a range of factors before imposing a ban on trans athletes and would need to justify it based on educational grounds, such as the need for fairness. So, for instance, a school district could justify a ban on trans athletes on their competitive high school track and field team, whereas a district would have a harder time making that case for an intramural middle school kickball squad. Well, I mean, I have a question. Why? Really, why? I mean, a lot of the sports that you're talking about, presumably, a boy kicking a ball in high school kicks a ball a lot harder than a girl. You may have noticed that, whether it's intramural or non-intramural. But it doesn't matter. Yeah, Joe Biden, what's funny about this particular proposal is Joe Biden is trying to split the baby and everybody's mad. So the trans community is like, no, we need men punching women in the boxing ring. And the people who, are sane and believe that men are men or women are women, we're saying like, well, I don't understand why you guys get to put any rules on this whatsoever. The proposed Biden administration rules would require that schools wishing to limit trans athletes' participation show the decision relates to an important educational objective and minimizes harm to others. They must also consider the sport involved, the age of the students, the level of competitiveness. So Joe Biden jumping in on defense of this. Meanwhile, one place where it actually matters, whether somebody is a man or a woman, like in the military, unpopular position, but it turns out that men carry heavy things and perform feats of different physical prowess than women. But the good news is that we have really reshaped how we've done our military, which is why Politico reports, it was their top headline yesterday, the DOD's highest-ranking trans official is now saying that we cannot ostracize anyone, because that's what the military is all about, guys. The military is about where you feel accepted. I know, you thought that was just your therapist's office. Wrong. It's the United States military that has to face down China and Russia. That's where we have to have feelings of acceptance. That's the key. Sean Skelly was a naval commander working to help fend off roadside bomb attacks when she came to a realization about herself, says Politico, one that meant her career in the military was over. It was 2006. Don't ask, don't tell was still in effect. As long as they kept their sexual identities under wraps, you could do what you wanted to do. Skelly had identified as a man up until that point. Now she felt she could no longer do so and decided to retire from military service as soon as possible. Well, now she's back at the Pentagon, this time as a civilian. An assistant secretary of defense for readiness, Skelly oversees military preparedness for warfighting, including training programs, equipment safety, and munition supplies. And Skelly has a message for Republicans accusing the DoD of promoting diversity and inclusion in the armed forces at the expense of military readiness. Their campaign is what's hurting the military's warfighting capabilities. Yes, the dearth of people being recruited to the military is because we are not warm enough to trans soldiers. We need more male soldiers being able to cut off their balls at taxpayer expense in order to make ourselves more militarily ready. That is the most important thing we can do. Acceptance, diversity. If we paint it on the bombs that we drop over Afghanistan, it makes the bombs okay. That's how this works. Skelly said, if you want to be ready, you have to ensure that everybody that is in your force can be their best selves and contribute as a member of the team and be seen as valuable. Is that really what you do when you build a military team? You make sure that everybody feels real good about themselves inside? Because literally every military person I've ever talked to says that's nonsense. Literally all of them. That is the opposite of what you do in the military. In the military, they literally break you down as a human being, and then they build you back up as part of a unit. The idea that individualism is the source of military prowess is one of the stupidest things I have ever heard. But it does not matter, because Skelly has now been appointed as the DoD's highest-ranking openly trans official. The second to hold an office that requires Senate confirmation. The first is, of course, our admiral, because he knows how to pilot a boat, man, Rachel Levine, over at Health and Human Services, one of the great admirals of all time. It is amazing. I mean, I've never seen an admiral quite as incredible as Rachel Levine. It basically goes Horatio Nelson, Lord Mountbatten, Rachel Levine. Amazing stuff there. Well, this administration has its priorities all in order. And the good news is that they are backed by the entire elite in our institutional life. Okay, we're going to continue now with some of your questions in the mailbag. Plus, I got to get into some of the polling data with regard to President Trump. We'll get into that momentarily. Become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.